Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today, I want to talk about every secret trainer in Wizard101. Now, if you don't know, scattered throughout the spiral, there are actually a few trainers that will train spells that there's no indication that they train spells beyond like the spell trainer icon above their head, but there's no quests tied to them, and there's nothing directly telling you to go there and to actually train these spells. There are quite a few of them, I'd say about 20 or so, scattered throughout every world in this game, and I wanted to today go over all of those trainers. Now, fun fact, I actually made this video and it's one of the most popular videos on my channel. I made it 3 years ago on a complete whim. I think I was actually talking with my friend and he jokingly suggested, he was like, what if you just made a video on every secret trainer in Wizard101? And I was like, you know what? Okay, that's a good idea. And now I didn't expect that video to pop off or anything. I didn't expect it to even do good, but I made that video and I was like, oh, okay, apparently everyone does want to know what secret trainers are in Wizard101, and I'd just like to say that video is pretty bad. It's one of my videos that I made like 3 years ago where it was just kind of me rambling for like 13 to 16 minutes and isn't good whatsoever. Like, there's not a lot of editing. Generally, I wouldn't consider my videos now good, but I'd say that they're at least better than they were, but I digress. Let's get into the video talking about every secret trainer in Wizard101. Now, starting off, we have the Wizard City trainers, and I'm already by one right here in the fairgrounds in the commons. Sabrina Greenstar here has spells for both shields and weaknesses for your school. The weaknesses is a very recent thing, I believe. I think this was only added in the last like few months, if I had to guess, but the shields have been here since the dawn of time. The ability to train shields of your own school or other schools have always been kind of given by Sabrina Greenstar here in the commons. So if you didn't know, there's your first secret trainer. Very easy and somehow easy to miss despite her just standing right there in the fairgrounds. All right, next up, and a fun one that I imagine most people actually don't even know about, is from Mortis the Death Tree here in Nightside. If you go to him, you can train up these spells and you can see there's like Infection, which is pretty good to stop an enemy from healing. So if there's a cheating boss that has a heal, you can do that. And also the Pacify and Taunt spells. Basically, if you don't know, Pacify, I believe, will make it so that an enemy can't target you for a round, and then Taunt will make it so the enemy can only target you for a round. So the kind of play for this is that, like, if you're a tanky wizard, you use this and it forces all of the enemies to target you. Now, these aren't the best spells in the world because an enemy can just use an AoE spell and that will still hit every enemy. But either way, the Taunt spells are here, so if you've ever wanted them, if you've ever wondered where to get them, Mortis has them here in Nightside for some reason, and game definitely doesn't do a good job of making you know that Mortis can train you spells. All right, the next one is kind of a secret trainer in quotation marks because I feel like most people actually probably know that he trains these spells, but I figured I would go over them anyway. Diego the Duel Master here in Unicorn Way has a few spells. He has like these new Gambit spells, which I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really care about these, and I imagine most people don't. However, what he does have that is very useful is Conviction. Now, Conviction basically makes it so that you stun block for 4 rounds, which is really good. This is going to be a spell that you use against like Yevgeny and Darkmoor and potentially other bosses that spam stunning. He has a few spells and he also has stun block if you want to use stun block instead. I think Conviction is more valuable, but if you want to use stun block, you can use stun block. The reason why I imagine most people know about Diego is because in my most recent spell guide, I recommended coming here and training Conviction, but he does have Conviction. So there you go, another secret trainer. All right, next up is one I imagine, again, a few people know because I did just recently go over it in my spell guide video, but it is a secret trainer, and this is kind of like the sheer definition of what a secret trainer is because she's kind of sequestered away in this hidden house that you can't even see on the map whatsoever. And I think that's really cool because like as a kid, you might stumble on this and be like, whoa, this is a house I never knew was here, and there's a trainer in here. Mildred Farseer here actually has a few spells that are incredibly useful. She has some dispel spells, which are really good. Dispel spells, that's, I know, it's a bit redundant, but these will cause the enemy to fizzle next round 100% if they use one of these spells. That can be very useful if a boss has a very specific cheat that you want to negate, so you just train that. I believe I already have like the Storm one trained probably for that very reason. If you just spam those spells, the enemy will just constantly fizzle. There's Reshuffle, which is obviously an incredibly useful card where if you use it, it'll reshuffle your deck so you can never run out of cards potentially. And then also life gets life trap from here. It's really funny because I feel like there's no other school in this game where one of their main blades or traps is just in a random trainer in the middle of nowhere. So if you want to get life trap, you have to come to Colossus Boulevard and train it from this trainer. There's no other way to get life trap, and I think that's really funny because it's just like in the middle of nowhere. Again, there's no indication that this is a secret trainer. Like if you look on the outside, the light on the door is turned out, and usually that means that you can't actually enter, and there's just like no real reason to come down here. But if you do, there you go, you get life trap. All right, next up, there are 2 secret trainers in Krokotopia that are hidden, and let's see if I got lucky. I did not get lucky. Let's see if I switch realms, will it be different than what it is right now? It is, but I don't know. Okay, I mean, it's filling up. How? Okay, no, never mind. Okay, so if you don't know, basically right here between these 2 pillars, there is a teleporter right here. And when this fills up all the way, it will unlock this teleporter, and it gives you the ability to go to the secret shop, which is... where is it? Right up here, I think, that's the secret shop up there. Basically, it is a shop that has a guy in it that sells a few things that are pretty much useless, but on the roof of that shop there is a guy that sells the minion cards, and specifically the different buffs for the minions. So you can see I have shield minion, I have buff minion, there's mend minion, siphon health, I believe. Actually, I'm not sure about siphon health being from that guy, but I'm pretty sure mend minion is. Basically, most of the minion spells for myth are there. Now again, you need to get lucky and hope that the secret shop is currently active and you can actually go there. I'll throw up the guy on the screen. He is a secret trainer and he does exclusively have myth minion spells. So if you're a myth wizard and you want your either Master of Monsters badge or just have all of the spells, he's up there in the secret shop. Now the final guy in Krokotopia is one that I'm sure most people know about, but if for some reason you don't know about, Niles the Balance Tree right here has spells you can train, and very specifically he has Elemental Blade, Elemental Trap, Spirit Blade, and Spirit Trap, which are all going to be super useful to do. It's going to be very useful in a team setting where you can buff your allies and potentially Elemental Blade or Spirit Blade your allies. There's also the weakness added to both schools. If you for some reason want to spam weakness, this guy's got weaknesses now. A hidden trainer, definitely. I don't know how hidden he is. I imagine most people actually probably know about this, but if for some reason you're a new player and you don't know about this, you can get Elemental Blade or Spirit Blade here and get to blade stacking much earlier than you would be able to normally if you didn't train this. Obviously you wouldn't be able to until like Sharpened Blade otherwise, or if you have an item card, but you can get Elemental Blade here as early as level 25, I believe. Maybe even 20. I'm not entirely sure. All right, the next one is one I would consider to be a true secret trainer, similar to Mildred Farseer, where there's really nothing to indicate that this is a secret trainer. But right here, you can see there's a kind of arrow and there's a hideaway right here behind the mayor, and if you go down here there's actually like a little bar, and at that bar there is Kroki, a trainer who will train some minion spells. He's the guy that teaches all of these sacrifice minion spells. So if you've ever wanted to just kill your minion for a buff, right here Kroki the trainer has the ability to teach you how to do that. Secret trainer right here in Marleybone in Digmore Station, if you didn't know somehow. So go get that sacrifice minion spell if you want to murder your minions. All right, the next one I wouldn't consider exactly to be a secret trainer. Unlike the other ones where they have no quest tied to them, this guy actually gives you a quest himself, but I figured I'd at least mention it because I feel like a lot of people might not actually know about this guy, and that is Eric Weirdrune here in Northgard. Now at level 35 and level 55, he gives you a quest to go like defeat one enemy, and that enemy will give you a spell. For some schools, it's extremely useful. I believe this is how you get like Shatter, I believe, for Myth, and like Supercharge for Storm, and you get my point. It's incredibly useful, some of the spells that you can get, and I would recommend coming here on every wizard. I'm going to throw the cards up on the screen to the left of me right now, what he gives at level 35 and then at level 55 here, but obviously it is useful to just come and do this to get the spells. And he also unlocks a trainer in Avalon. You have to do his quest before you can get the Avalon trainer spells, so keep that in mind. I'm going to bring up the trainer once I get to Avalon, but Eric Weirdrune here does have a quest that does give you spells. All right, the next one is one of the 3 secret trainers throughout Celestia, but the first one is in the Watermole Village here in the Floating Land. This NPC is actually part of the main quest, so you might have already encountered this trainer, but this trainer has Mega Taunt and some of like the other pacify spells right here. You can see similarly to Mortis, you can taunt, but they obviously last a little bit longer. Like taunt lasts 2 rounds instead of 1 round. So if you've ever wanted to tank and take the heat off of your teammates a little bit, Mega Taunt could be useful. The rest of these probably aren't that useful, but you can train them if you want to. They're all here at Tupatawa. in the Water Mole Village. All right, next up is in Stormriven here in Celestia. Now, I'm going to just kind of show you the exact route to get to this guy because he's kind of hidden. You can see his name right there, but next to the Sorcerer's Sanctum, next to like kind of where you enter Stormriven Hall over there, if you come this way through this little gap and around this big guy that has the moon shield and sword, and take a left here, you'll see first off the Lounging Lizard for the Zeke quest, if you ever wanted to know where that is, and also Ulantor Starmist here, who has 4 separate polymorph spells. So if you've ever wanted to get the Master of Shapes badge, which is to get all of the Moon School spells all the way up to level 88, here's how you get these. He sells 4 polymorph spells, nothing particularly interesting or good, like polymorphs kind of suck, but if you've ever wanted all the polymorph spells, here is Ulantor Starmist in Stormriven. All right, next up we have in the Stormriven Hall, if you go to the right and kind of follow this crevice here past the Shadow Web Constructs, there's this little hole in the wall, and right here is Corsten Bloodscorn. Now, Corsten here gives the mutate spells. Now, if you don't know what these do, they change a spell into a spell of a different school. So like you can see here, Locust Swarm turns into Polar Swarm, which is like an ice version. Mutate Ice Weaver into Fire Weaver, Kraken into Inferno Kraken, Minotaur into Deadly Minotaur, Phoenix into Thunderbird. You get my point. He sells the mutate spells, which some of you might not have even known are in the game. A few videos ago, a guy asked me in the comments, he was like, Noah, if you use spell elements on a spell and then mutate it, will it retain that buff? And I just want you to know, not only do I think about 99% of people don't know the mutate spells even exist in the game, I guarantee you that 100% of people don't know that fact. And I don't mean this in like a mean way, but like I have no idea, and I would love for someone to test that because I don't know. I don't have any of these spells to actually like test it on any of my wizards, I don't think, upgraded. There are the mutate spells here if you've ever wanted to transmute a spell into a spell of a different school. I don't think it's particularly useful, but you can turn a Minotaur into a Deadly Minotaur, so that's cool. He's right here in the Stormriven Hall, and I just realized I'm levitating, bro. Look at that. That's crazy. All right, next up we have Avalon, and this is what I was talking about before when I was talking about Eric Weirdrune. I said that there's a quest in Avalon. There's actually 2 quests in Avalon, one at level 72 and one at level 75 that both train spells. I'll throw them up on the screen as we go over them. Now, Fire Nolan here gives the level 72 quest. Again, you do need to do the Eric Weirdrune quest first. So at level 35, you need to get that first one. At level 55, you need to get the second one. And once you do that, at level 72, you can come here to Friar Nolan here in the Caliburn, right in front of Abbey Road. He'll send you to defeat a boss that probably is pretty simple, has like 10 to 12,000 health. You beat him up, you come back, and you get one of the spells. Again, there are some pretty useful spells on the docket here, so if you want any of these, I would recommend doing this, and I'd recommend doing it anyway, just in case you ever need the spell. Some of these spells may seem situational, but there may come that situation where you really want to use them, and if you don't have them, you have to go do the whole quest in the future, so you might as well get it over with now. So that was the level 72 one. At level 75, you can come to High Road and come to Fiona Yellowknife here, who is part of the main quest. Right now, she's just a reagent vendor, but if you do the previous quest at level 75, she'll give you another quest to defeat, I believe, another just generic boss. And once you defeat that boss, she will also give you another set of pretty useful spells. Again, I believe that this is the one that gives Death Bad Juju, and you do need to do all of the prerequisites before you can get to this quest. So keep that in mind. While this is technically a secret trainer, it is a quest spell, and you need to have done 3 other quest spells to actually get these spells. But I digress. Let's move on to the actual secret trainers of Avalon. All right, next up, we have 2 not so hidden ones because they actually show up on the map, but I imagine, you know, some people might have just missed this if you didn't actually come to them throughout the quest. But Cassie the Ponycorn here in the wild trains Mass Prism, which is going to be super useful for your school. Obviously, it just is a convert, but it goes on all enemies. So if you ever fight a large crowd of mobs or a boss fight that has enemies of your school the entire time, you want to get Mass Prism here from Cassie the Ponycorn in the wild. And then in the very same street of the wild, if you come here to the Fire Elf village, you can see Enya Firemoon is right here at the end of the village. I believe you might need to actually like do this part of the quest right here to defeat the Weavern thing in the frozen cave. You might need to do that before she's unlocked, but once you do that, I believe she'll just be free to be a trainer, and she trains up all of these spear spells, which aren't anything particularly useful. Basically, these give you an extra pierce to your next spell, which if for some some reason you don't know what pierce is, first off, watch my stat guide. But basically, this just allows you to pierce through an enemy's resistances or an enemy's shield. You're not going to really be using this spell almost at all unless it's like a very specific instance. I imagine 99% of people don't even carry this in their deck. But if you want to, these spear spells are here from Enya Firemoon to train. If you want to collect at least every spell of your school, here's one to collect. All right, next up, while I'm walking to the next and final secret trainer in this game, I just want to mention that I didn't talk about any of the Astral Spell trainers throughout like Celestia / Zafaria / Azteca. And the main reason for that is, one, I included them in my spell guide, and I would say that most people actually know about them because they're not really a secret. Everyone kind of knows you need to get Colossal, whatnot. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my spell guide and watch like from the Celestia, Zafaria, Azteca sections of the video. But basically, there are Astral School trainers that you can train from, and they will give you some very interesting and useful spells such as Sharpened Blade, Potent Trap, Colossal. You get my point. All right, finally, we have Amelia Stardust here in Radiance Reborn in Khrysalis. Now, she basically just teaches these bubble spells that aren't anything really useful whatsoever. They basically give you an extra 20% chance to crit and an extra 20% pierce. They're not like horrible, don't get me wrong. If you're fighting an enemy that like spams a shield, like a -90 shield, if you use this plus the spear spell from the last section, you can pierce through probably most of that. So if you wanted to, you can in fact do that. However, I would say these spells aren't incredibly useful just because it costs 4 pips to use them, which is like quite a bit of pips for something that's not entirely useful. These are like, you want to train them just in case you ever need it, but you're probably never going to actually need these spells. So that right there, I think, is every secret trainer in the game. As far as I know, I looked at the entire list of all these spell trainers throughout the spiral, like all 60 of them. I clicked on their page, went to them, saw if they train anything. I don't think there's any other secret trainers post Khrysalis, which is a bit unfortunate because secret trainers are very fun in this game. There are like fishing trainers I didn't touch, there are the astral trainers I didn't touch, but realistically I touched like 99% of secret trainers in this game. If I missed something, leave it in the comments, please. I'll pin it. Obviously, that goes for literally every video. If I miss something, please comment it and I'll pin the comment, and you know, you can all point and laugh at me in my shame of forgetting something in a video. But that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, leave a like, hit the sub button. I find secret trainers to be a very fun thing in this game, and it's almost a shame that there isn't really any post Khrysalis, because finding them and training up their spells has always been like kind of a fun little thing to do for me, because like, you know, the idea of training a spell that, you know, most other people probably don't even have is like really cool. But otherwise, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Have a fantastic day.